party for his elf.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome here to New Zealand, Taronga Motorsports Park for race number 10 of the 2025 of the WRA Oreo Cup Series. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a minute, Voiles, I thought we were supposed to be going to Germany. We were supposed to be going to Germany. The problem is I said last week at Pocono it was going to hold 37. Apparently, it was going to hold 36. And then the track ended up crashing on me numerous times. So I say, you know what? For the best interest, and it's not fair for the GOGH homers for them not to race this at Germany, we decided to take Germany off the schedule and replace it with a track in New Zealand instead. So hope you guys are okay with the change, which I've already mentioned it in the Red Bull GT Series race last night at Charlotte, which 18 hours later, here we are in New Zealand, believe it or not. So it should be fun as Sam Tenley is the first car on track. We're going to take a lap around New Zealand with the driver of the 60 machine as here he comes off the final corner. As we're going to take a lap around the Taronga Motorsports Park. Turn number 1. That is going through the loop. Heading to Castrol, that is turns 2 and 3, the double right-hander. And then turn 4 begins the start of the S's. Heading for turn 6, that would be the hairpin. Turn 7, the brickyard, and then the final corner is GWD elbow. And then onto the front straightaway, and that is a lap around New Zealand. First lap of 56.454 for Sam Tenley. Already got drivers setting lap times because the pit stalls were behind the start-finish line, so it would be their first official time lap. Addison Peterson in the 75, trying to make her debut in this series. She's driving for Galaxy Motorsports in that number 75 machine. She already put a lap time on the board, but that was because her pit stall was behind the start-finish line. If you're Zachary Fitzwater, you're happy to have this young lady in the field. Crystal Fontaine, a former Daytona 500 in the now retired Monster Energy Series, has come home to race here in her home country of New Zealand. And she's looking forward to see how she will do this season, driving the 08 for Richard Childress Racing. HO Racing, there's Daniel Voiles, Remy Crampton. This week in the 62, we've seen Carolina Bradley. This is Danny Rand making his return to the Oreo Cup Series. He was part of the 2022, Oreo Cup Series. He made the playoffs when he drove the number 06 Pepsi Max Chevy Camaro, or Chevy SS rather. He's driving the Dubai Chevy Camaro, that is. Danny Rand made the playoffs in 2022, was sadly eliminated from the playoffs after the round of 16, as he goes fourth quickest. There's Gene Evans. Sarah Littletown, this week's driver of the 55 for Tricon Garage, the Mobile One Toyota SXE. Trying to make her first start of the year. Same with this gal, Brenda Eveling. Nice to see Brenda Eveling back in the series. Of course, Brenda Eveling does not have an R next to her name. That's because she was one of the drivers from the 2022 roster. There's Desiree Voiles, Cheyenne Berkshire in the 18. Kevin Joseph, we haven't seen him since Sonoma for Red Dragon Racing. Currently fourth quickest. Isaac Willis right there. There's Morgan Henderson, Leo Hill, Kaylee Rankin. This week's driver of the 84 is not the driver we've been seeing. which is Carmen Alejandra. This is Ponzo Albanese, a DVR development driver in the number 84 this week in the Advent Health Toyota Camry SXE for Legacy Motor Club. Callie Springer in the 49. There's Annie Thomas in the 50. This is the closest Annie Thomas will get to a home race this season. She is from Sydney, Australia. This track is in New Zealand, so the New Zealanders, or Kiwis as Fitzy likes to call them, are delayed to see Annie Thomas here. Currently 17th quickest right now. Donovan Dixon in the 66, currently 16th quickest. Jessica Shelton is the quickest car on the racetrack. Eric Monaco, Ingrid Pollard in the 88 this week. It'll go back to Liliana Beta next week at Michigan. Pollard is now second quickest in the session. There's Sam Tenley. Let's give you the track descriptions of this racetrack. As you see, it is 7 turns. The NASCAR record is a 58.184. 45 miles an hour is the pit road speed. And the question I'm going to have to ask, how far can they go? 62 laps. That's an interesting stat there. If we have a long race, which doesn't look like we will, don't know how long the race distance is going to be as Eric Monaco peels off for the pit lane. We're still going to figure that out. Don't know what the fuel window would be if we do a ×2. Could be on ×2. That could make fuel mileage really interesting. As Brenda Eveling goes to the fastest, 54.993. For the United Rentals Chevrolet out of Richard Childress Racing. As of now, both of the Richard Childress cars would make the show this week. Also would make the show this week would be Jessica Shelton, Eric Monaco, Ingrid Pollard would make her debut, and Donovan Dixon would get the final transfer spot. Look at that, 6/1000s. That's pretty close for a go or go home field, if you ask me. There's the drivers that are the slowest, so they're going to really need to find some times. It is cloudy here this morning, and yes, I know it's 2 p.m. Central Time back in the States, but to be fair, we're on, quote, New Zealand time, so just a FYI as far as that is concerned. This is also going to be the closest that Zachary Fitzwater will get to a home race this season. I don't think off the top of my head we've had a series race here in New Zealand on my channel. I don't think I've seen anybody else race in New Zealand. As there you see Isaac Willis, 17th quickest. Morgan Henderson. Leo Hill, 21st quickest. Who was that just peeled in the pits? That must have been Callie Springer. Yes, it was. This week in the 49. Ponzo Albanese. He is a road course special, former GTSRA driver. Jessica Shelton, currently second quickest at a 55.072. Shelton has failed to qualify ever since she's been entered in this car in the Mack Knight Ford Mustang Dark Horse out of Retro Racing, out of Bill Elliott Racing, which is the team that she's driving for. Of course, she is a Bill Elliott fan, which I have to respect her on that. And of course, she is Second quickest, this would be her first start on the season. It would be Brenda Eveling's first start on the season for her. Eric Monaco, who's failed to qualify the last couple of races. This would be his, as my charger just fell off the bed. I'm actually going to look it up as a matter of fact, as that was not the one I wanted, you stupid phone. As I look at the points, Eric Monaco, this would be his 7th start on the season. And we're on race number 10. So he's already inside the top 30 in points. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the season, he's going to continue to miss more races. And his chances of making the playoffs are pretty much slim to none, despite if he makes this race and gets another win. So he has the most starts out of everybody in the series. Eric Monaco does. Donovan Dixon, as things stand, Donovan Dixon would be making his 4th start on the year. He's failed to qualify for 7 out of the 10 races he's attempted in that 66. The only ones he's made so far, he made Las Vegas, which was a freebie. I'm trying to think what other race he made. The rest of the races I know he's failed to qualify in. As Monaco goes second quickest at a 55.509. Ingrid Pollard would be making her debut on the channel, or her debut in the Oreo Cup Series, I should say. Sam Tenley looks like he's not going to make the show this week. This gal is looking like she's going to make the show, Crystal Fontaine. And that would be special for her because this is her home race, number 1. This would be a special homecoming for Crystal Fontaine. Not only to race with her team owner, Zachary Fitzwater. She's from this area, New Zealand. And if there's one lady who was really excited to be in this race, that would be the driver of the 0A, which is Crystal Fontaine. So she's really excited to race here today. 6 o'clock Eastern Time, we will go racing here in New Zealand. In the States, that'll be 1 o'clock local here. Can't wait to bring you our first race of the inaugural the Kiwi Grand Prix. Less than 2 minutes to go in the session. Time to beat is a 55.235 that Donovan Dixon has because he comes in this race on the bubble. Can't wait to see what kind of racing we're going to see at this track and whether or not this track's a keeper or not. I know for the Red Bull GT Series, we will be coming here in Season 4. I'll actually mention this. I've already mentioned this at Charlotte. If not, I'll probably mention it at their next race. Is that I have just released the Season 4 schedule. So we have less than a minute to go, and Brenda Eveling is the only driver in the 54 time, so that will more than likely lock her into the show. There she is. And one lady who's really excited to race with her would be Courtney Lynn. Because remember, Brenda Eveling and Courtney Lynn are like sisters. Well, you can say adopted sisters. Brenda Eveling will also attempt the Coke 600 later this season. And it looks like nobody else is improving. which is a real shame for drivers who really need to get into the field. Time is up. Hot laps will count. I want to see what pit road. There's pit lane 1. And what's pit lane 2 look like? There you go. It's a 1.5 mile road course, so it's really fun to see. And first time the next gen cars ever raced at New Zealand. And Callie Springer just bumped Donovan Dixon out. That was a last ditch effort. And it looks like the 08 also got bumped. Couple of last ditch efforts. As Brenda Eveling is the quickest this session. She'll be joined by Eric Monaco, Jessica Shelton making her first start of her Oreo Cup Series career. Annie Thomas will make another start, but at least the hometown fans will now cheer for her since Crystal Fontaine just got bumped out of the field. Ingrid Pollard and Callie Springer will make her debut. So the second week in a row, the 49 team will make the show. Sadly, the drivers who will not make this week's race here in New Zealand are the following. Crystal Fontaine, that's got to be heartbreaking. She looked like she was in, but a couple of drivers improved their time, and she will not make the show. But we will have her make a race at this track in the Red Bull GT Series next year because she will be racing full-time, so that's cool. Excuse me. Donovan Dixon, Daniel Voiles, Addison Peterson. We will see Skylar Davidson in that 75 starting next week at Michigan. Kevin Joseph, Remy Crampton, Desiree Voiles, Danny Rant. He'll be in that car at Michigan next week. Sam Tenley, Gene Evans, Sarah Littletown, Isaac Willis, Morgan Henderson, Ponzo Albanese, Cheyenne Berkshire, Leo Hill, Kaylee Rankin, and Gacha Racing. Those drivers are unfortunately not racing this weekend here at Michigan. So a tough break for those drivers. They'll look to try again next week at Michigan International Speedway. But I hope you enjoyed this Go or Go Home session. If you did, be sure to give this video a like. Subscribe to become part of the PCSRA and WRA crew today. We'll see you back here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time as our race weekend at New Zealand continues on the PCSRA Sporting Image channel, celebrating 15 years as the best center racing since 2017.